Good news, everyone!
So, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the damn thing, the Bandit Radio Hour. We're in February now. We're not putting any numbers on the days. We're just letting see how it rolls. Welcome. Where y'all are listening, we're jamming. I'm sitting along here beside with my co-producer, main producer, Merce. What's going on, Merce?
Your only producer?
My only producer. Yeah, we got a new, for y'all, those of y'all watching on YouTube, we got a new angle because I actually watched one of the videos we put out, which I hadn't really done. I just listened to my own voice on Spotify like the real narcissist that I am. And I look like a psychopath whenever the camera is 3 feet away and I'm doing hand motions and gun gestures in all kinds of directions.
Blame it on the camera.
Yeah, we'll go with that. So, yeah, welcome everybody. We're here. We're doing it. How's your last week been, Melon Boy?
It's been just that.
Yeah.
Been helping some buddies get some watermelons in the dirt. So for come May, there'll be some fresh from Florida watermelons.
Now here's my thing. Well, it's not even my thing at all. I've never done melons in my life, but like it's completely different now than it used to be as far as like to describe exactly what you do.
Well, I mean, now the GPS is driving the tractor. I'm basically there monitoring, make sure it goes terribly wrong.
You're sitting on a tractor just going like it's driving itself and I'm supervising, which you need to supervise it. I'm not saying that's nothing.
Yeah, no, it's come a long way. Like from when I first learned even from like me when I first learned how to drive in like an open cab tractor, like on a mower sitting there screaming behind you. Now it's, I got the radio on and the air conditioner and I got my little lunchbox down on the floor beside me. So
we got one tractor that is air conditioning and that is wonderful, but everything else is exactly what you just described. Just screaming mower behind you, open cab. You're breathing in all the dust, and on days like this, it's not that bad.
Summers are terrible.
Terrible. Awful. I don't know. At least if you have an open cab, that is better than no cab.
True.
Those are ungodly. Those are awful. I've driven them sons of guns. I'm not a big fan. But so, yeah, what'd you do over the weekend? My ass was busy, but what'd you do? I didn't talk to you over the weekend. A whole lot of nothing before melons?
I feel like I was busy, but I don't remember what I was doing.
Hang on. You mentioned something about Santeria.
Oh.
Was that over the weekend?
No, that wasn't over the weekend. That was like a year ago.
All right, well, the hell with your weekend. What was this about? Because you never told it to me until right before we started recording.
Oh, about the chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, no, from down, like, not far down the road, there's the boat ramp.
Right.
We go to.
That goes to the Peace River.
Yeah,
That's
so we ride our side-by-sides over there. Randomly, we got in a kick. We were going there for the summer. We pulled down, like, we would just, like, drive down, like, pull, like, way on off, like, this one spot. And we get out, and, like, we start getting water. Like, something kind of smells. Like, what is that? Then we notice there's, like, some feathers or some flowers, and we're, like, not putting really anything together yet. And then we see a chicken head tied to some strings. And we're like, what? And then we got sat back and...
Hang on. The chicken head is tied to strings?
Yeah, there's like a chicken head, and then like where I guess its spine would be coming out of the head.
Okay.
That's all there is. It's a chicken head, and then they tied strings to like the base of the spine.
Is that like hanging somewhere? Or?
No, that's just like laying on the ground in this like circle thing that's got these flowers and stuff around it. So we're like, okay, that's some creepy voodoo stuff. And we didn't know what it was. And one of my buddies was with me, and KB, and he's like, this is like some Miami voodoo stuff or whatever. He's like, I don't know what it is, but he's like, I've seen or heard about this before. And when we got back later, he called me.
It's either Mexicans or some really Hasidic Jews.
Well, yeah, he calls me later. Santa, yeah, it's like a Santeria. And I was like, what? Like the song, which then blew my mind on like that part of the song. I had no idea what Santeria meant. I thought it was some kind of dance or something.
I wasn't really super sure of it.
But apparently you do it like when there's somebody sick or dying, and you do it as like a way for something. I don't know, but there's a whole process with the chicken and cutting off the head. And
there is a Mexican cowboy I worked with. He was from central Mexico, and he said his mother had cancer, and the doctors told her like she didn't have that long to live or whatever, but that they got a medicine man, and he said like where he's from, it's mostly native and not that much Spanish, like but he said like the medicine man like did everything from cracking an egg over her head while she was laying down and saying prayers over it to one of the crazy, or no, maybe just hovered the egg over her head and got the bad stuff out of her and cracked the egg.
Wasn't there like a child's nursery rhyme where it's like, crack an egg on your head, let the yolk run down?
I don't know what school you went to growing up.
I don't know, but that randomly went in my head for some reason. All right, but yeah, continue.
Sure, whatever.
I don't know why that song is like...
Probably there's a reason. But, no, but one of the things that really stuck out to what he said, like the one thing I remember, he said he said she had to drink the soup, but the main ingredient was a coyote he had to kill up in these certain kinds of mountains in Mexico, and he had to cut the black tip of the snout out, like the nose, and put it in the soup with these other spices and stuff, and she had to drink it. And he's like, my mama's still alive. She's still good. She's, that was 2-3 years ago. She's okay.
That's some holy horchata.
Yeah, it's some wild.
I do think there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to things like healing herbs and remedies, like stuff,
I think there's some. I even think because of placebo, like snake oil can have an effect.
Yeah. They prove like placebos like can really do things.
But I think ever since we've had our medical association bottleneck all the things you're allowed to.
Rockefeller.
Yeah. Was he a doctor?
No, but he found out that that most of your medicines are petroleum based. So there's a reason why. That's modern medicine.
That makes sense.
And and then any other thing like the holistic approaches or like it was then labeled alternative medicine.
Right.
So Rockefeller.
Yep. It's like Rockefeller's a really good example. I think both the left wing and right wing could probably agree to this.
Hell of a businessman.
Yes. I'd say hell of a fascist. And when I say fascist, I don't even mean like he hated Jews or anything. Like I mean like a literal like economic, like I'm going to merge my corporation and what the government does together. And my corporation is going to use the government to run the economy. And, or by, and
that's pretty good explanation.
Yeah. Man, he did it. But
it's good for him. I mean, screw the rest of us. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like,
This-
well played, sir.
yeah.
Well played.
Yeah.
Like you won. You won Monopoly. Nobody ever wins the game. You flip the board over.
He won the game for several generations, but it only wait till it stands up to the test of time. Then all empires crumble in the face of that opponent.
I just want a little place on Marvin Gardens.
And Afghanistan. No empire's really taken over Afghanistan. They are strong little bastards down there.
You gotta give it to them.
Yeah. For making like the average person's like $50 a year is what their income is, and it's like, nah, we'll just keep throwing rocks at you whether you're Romans or Americans or Russians. We'll good job. So what the hell are we talking about? Oh yeah, our week. I actually hadn't done fence this week. Actually, it's been nice doing different stuff. Servicing tractors and servicing equipment. And we got 4 tractors. Got a head catcher that how caked was it whenever you last saw it with mud and stains and everything. Like had to take a shovel to clean out half of that damn thing and pressure wash the rest.
Just so it get dirty again.
And there was something wild that happened at work past week. Can't remember it. It slipped my mind. Well, there was the car wreck that crashed into the hayfield, but I talked about that last episode.
Did you ever figure who that was?
Nope, never heard a report back.
Well, you hear about the guy from here, from DeSoto, they got arrested in North Carolina?
No.
Matt Flores? I guess he went to high school, but he must be a year too older than me. I don't remember him.
It sounds really familiar.
But I guess he was wanted. This is all supposedly. He hasn't been like convicted, so
right.
saying it.
Allegedly,
yeah.
Our favorite word.
Yeah, allegedly he shot a guy in like north near La Chula, and then was on the run, and people were like, there was like all this stuff like wanted.
How long ago did he shoot him?
It was like a week or 2 ago.
Oh wow!
And then he was on the run. They couldn't find out where he was. Then in Okeechobee, a Lyft driver had gone missing. Found out, and then they arrested him in North Carolina in the Lyft driver's car. And then, like 2 days later, They find the Lyft driver's body in Okeechobee.
Whoa.
So he allegedly whacked somebody in Wauchula, got to Okeechobee somehow, got a lift, whacked that guy, and then got busted in a high-speed chase in North Carolina, high on drugs.
Whoa.
And he graduated like a year above us in high school.
At our school.
Yeah.
I had a graduating class of like 210.
Yeah. No, he's like national news.
Florida
like,
man.
Anytime Arcadia, Florida makes the news, it's never good.
Proud.
I mean, look at the fair.
By the way, all right, so kind of relates to a little bit of a side skirt, but have you seen the new Grand Theft Auto map for Grand Theft Auto 6?
Oh, it's Florida.
It's Florida.
The Sebring racetracks.
Sebring racetracks in it, and there's like, you know.
I hope there's just one speed bump in our little town. There's just like a cow.
I really think. Well, I think Tampa's going to be in it, and Sebring, and like, yeah, I think it's going to be stuff like Arcadia isn't going to be in it, but it's going to kind of be.
Yeah, there's like a big green, just nothingness area.
You know, when I first heard about this game. And I don't know, Grand Theft Auto, like, I'm not going to do too many more culture rants on entertainment stuff, but when I found out, like, Grand Theft Auto, supposedly the main character is going to be a chick now, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, that's like making...
Well, it's whatever she's going to want to identify as.
No, yeah, probably.
Come here, dude.
I don't know, Rockstar's pretty based. They've always been pretty damn, like, almost South Park-ish. Like, we're going to make fun of both sides from conspiracy theory nut jobs just blabbing on the internet and radio.
Yeah, what was the crazy...
Hi, everybody.
What was the crazy white guy in the trailer in Grand Theft Auto 5?
Well, that was there was the main protagonist you play as, or one of the three, Trevor.
Yeah, Trevor. That's what I meant. Yeah, Trevor. I was like, yeah, no, Trevor is not... Trevor's not in with the norm culture.
No,
Trevor's not woke.
No, not or he's like so woke it's to an extreme level. It's really however you want to play it at whatever time. It was a brilliant thing. But when I found out it was gonna be a chick, I was like, this probably gonna make me not like the game. I'm open to having my mind change, but then I found out like it's in Florida, and I'm like, all right, sold. You got me. I want to see what Arcadia is like digitally and right around cause havoc.
It'd be way easier to just sleep your way to the top in Miami.
Yes, and also, I mean, like, dude,
you don't even have to like rob banks. You just make like a OnlyFans thing, and boom, an Instagram, and you can make an Instagram, and you're rich in Florida.
Think about how different it'll be running from the cops. You'd
be slow in heels.
What if you can get on like a swamp buggy and go through the Everglades?
That'd be pretty cool.
Hang on, you want to hear a pretty awesome story? So I'm not gonna name any names, but I swear on my life, the story I was told. A man I worked with had a son that kept, quite frankly, breaking in and out of jail. Like kept getting for like I think like non-violent stuff. But anyways, he went away to some farm. He went away to some farm in like a kind of a rehab farm north of the Everglades, and one day, the man I worked with got a call, and they said, hey, your son has escaped, and he has taken off barefoot into the Everglades. And, like, if you know Florida, like, Okeechobee's in the northern part of Florida. Or not northern part of Florida.
Center.
Northern part of the Everglades.
Yeah.
Is what I meant. And so they said, like, he took off from Okeechobee and, like, running south. And we've lost him. We've had dogs on him for a day. Like, we can't find him. We're gonna just keep searching for like a couple more days, but so the guy tells me several days passed, they don't find his son, and he's like, oh man, the worst has happened. It'd be like a week and a half later, he'd get a call from Key West, and it was his son going, hey Dad, I made it. And like, as he tells me the story about, how did he get down the bridge? I mean, he must have
got in a boat or hopped in a boat, and
dude.
He just sipping a rum runner at Sloppy Joe's.
Dude, there is actually so many traveling. I'll ask you, what's your craziest Florida travel story?
Like how I traveled?
No.
Oh, I told you about the guy floating down the river.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, like trying to float his way to the harbor.
You traveling.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've got any crazy...
I remember I had a girlfriend when I graduated high school, and we were going to go down to Key West. And I swear to God, every part of this all my life is true, as best as I can recall. We're driving to Key West. We're going to cut like kind of around Miami. We got to drive like across the state and then down the state. And as we get up around Miami, we stop off. I got to pee at a CVS. They were new CVS's back then. And I run in.
That was after the Eckards sold out.
Yep, after they were long gone. But ran in there. I start peeing. And in walks, right beside me in the next urinal. I'm 6'2", I'm a tall fella. And walks in like a 6'5" or 6'6". Swole, not swole, but just big, broad-chested black guy who's sweating in a hat and a black tank top and some camouflage jeans. And he like runs in right beside me, stands up, goes, starts loudly peeing. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to finish as quick as I can and get the hell out of here. He goes, man, it's hot as hell out there, ain't it? And I'm like, yeah, I suppose. And he goes, as I get done, he eventually propositions me to no. He goes, man, listen, I got to get down to what's that last town right before you get on the bridge to go to the
Homestead Keys? Or Florida City?
One of those two.
Yeah, Homestead is like the actual town. Florida City is like the little juncture, the base of the bridge.
And he goes, listen, I was driving my Dodge Dakota, the Silver Bullet, that had a long bed.
The Dancing Dodge.
I was driving that, and he goes, listen, I'm going to be real with you. He goes, I got to get down to Homestead. And he goes, and I've been walking. He goes, I've come all the way from California. I just got out of the Army. I'm done, like, with all of that, and I'm trying to make it home to my mom. She's down in Homestead. He goes, can I please get a ride from you and your girl? Or he didn't know about my girlfriend in the front seat, but I'm like, I'm a little Huckleberry friend, 18 years old from Arcadia, Florida.
I've been with you when you've picked up hitchhikers.
Yeah, so. It's something. No, let's roll the dice. Let's see what happens.
You're gonna be dead in a ditch one day.
Yeah, let's play it out. Let's fun adventure time. But anyways, I'm like, go ahead, man. Jump up in the bed of the truck, and we take off. And he tells me like, all you got to do is pull into like 7-Eleven down in Homestead or something like that, and just drop me off, and I'll walk. And I go, it ain't gonna hurt me riding in the bed of my truck. So we're riding, and as we get down close to Homestead, he knocks on my little back window that I could slide the glass open. I go, yes, sir. He goes, hey, man, y'all been really nice, and I'm gonna ask you, either one of y'all smoke weed? And at 18, we're like 5 minutes from dropping it off. At 18, like, I think I'd smoked it like once or twice or something like that, but I wasn't like crazy about it, especially with my girlfriend. My girlfriend at the time, I was like, oh, not really. He goes, well, I tell you what, if y'all going down to Key West to have fun, just have this and have a good time. And he reached into his duffel bag and pulled out a handful of, to this day, is the most purple weed I'd ever seen in my life.
Just a handful out of the duffel bag.
Out of the duffel bag. Now, like, I don't...
So were you smuggling drugs?
Now that I'm telling the story, I'm genuinely thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know about what... But
he had a whole duffel bag full of weed.
I don't think he had a whole duffel bag.
He had a whole duffel bag full of weed.
I would have smelled it. It didn't smell. It didn't smell at all. Like, but that was a fun trip down to Key West. Because I looked at my girlfriend, and I think at the time I was like, you don't want to do this, do you?
I'm picturing like you in the episode of South Park, the counselor. What's the counselor's name on South Park?
Mr. Garrison?
No, not Mr. Garrison. You know what I'm talking about. Big head.
Mr. Garrett? No, not Mr. Mackey.
Yeah, Mr. Mackey.
That's who I was
when he finally gets high and does his tie.
Yeah.
And he goes, that was you. I figured like you were like all uptight. Yes, sir.
I was broke I was even more broke than I am now at 18. And me and her got some kind of deal. I think it's when like hotel apps were just starting to kind of come out. And it wasn't even a, what are they now? Rent a bedroom? What the hell are they?
Airbnb.
Airbnb. It wasn't that, but we got a room on Duval Street for like $115 a night. And it was like a bar on bottom and like 3 bedroom on top. And you could rent one of the bedrooms for like $100, like a studio apartment. And we stayed there. And that was an awesome week in Key West. I couldn't drink in any of the bars because I looked like a 12-year-old. But when we finally decided to go to like a fancy restaurant to treat ourselves, they're like, do you want wine? And I'm like, I will drink all of your wine, ma'am. I don't even like wine, but you're allowing me to. Sure, let's have fun. So yeah, fun road trips in Florida. Looking back, I might help smuggle drugs.
You 100%. It's been more than 7 years. I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
There's no evidence, but
he was really nice.
Yeah,
so I'm sure, but anyways, so what about you?
I don't know that I've really got any like crazy Florida like.
You
trips.
do have several crazy stories rolled into one amazing Merce trivia fact. Haven't you hit? This should be 7 years. You should be good. Haven't you ran over every species of game in Florida with your truck?
Yeah. I've hit a turkey. I've hit a deer. I've hit an alligator. I've hit a hog.
I think there's more. You named them off quite a bit one day.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I saw like a 6 foot rattle. Not 6 foot. I saw like a 4 foot rattlesnake the other day.
It's okay. I say mine's 6 foot all the time.
Whatever helps the president. I was talking to one of the old Mexicans I used to work with the other day, and he gave me the nickname Long Breeze. Have I ever talked about that nickname on the podcast?
No.
No? Alright, yeah, so my nickname is Long Breeze. And to all my Latino friends right now, they're probably laughing their ass off. But for those of you that don't know what it means, look it up your damn self, because to this day...
What did you tell people it meant?
Wild stallion. And it worked out so perfectly. some little dumb Arcadian white girl would be like, oh, that's so unique. I'm like, yeah, you know, they got a lot of respect for me at the ranch. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what it really means. No one will know. But shit. So that's what's been going on with me the last week, aside from a few side rants. Pause it right there. We'll be right back. So, yeah. All right, getting into current events. There was something about a balloon. So, all right, we're going to dig into this a little bit. Merce, update us on, like, the official timeline story, because you were just nailing me with updates. Or updates on this thing as it happened.
Okay, so basically some guy in China got a big condom and a helium canister.
I like the enthusiasm.
And somehow things went terribly wrong. And we ended up with this giant rubber floating thing above us. And then it somehow got blown up over the Atlantic Ocean. But
China's on the Pacific side,
yeah,
Merce.
So that means they would have had to have crossed the entire country before they decided to do anything about it. So then the conspiracy comes up with, did they know? Did they not know?
The conspiracy, or one of like 100 that have spawned in my head since this started?
I don't know.
There's so many different angles to...
But which one's the right angle?
Yeah,
90 degrees.
You son of a bitch. Yes, but don't be so obtuse. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I am large.
But, no, so, I mean, on one hand, like, yes, they let it get all the way across the U.S. before they shot it. And I know, like, the main conspiracy theory is, like, oh, Biden let it happen because he's bought by China. And it's like, and I hear a lot from my right-wing friends, like, oh, China wants this war with the U.S. I really don't think China does. I think they want to buy off and influence as much as they possibly can to, you know, corner the market and keep selling to us and not let us get the common sense to sell to ourselves. However, I mean, could this have just been some dude in China that launched this? And don't China have satellites that could see anything a damn balloon could?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm still not 100% sure because China claimed it. And then, but you don't know if it's like some college doing a test or...
What's the last, all right, I'm going to go back.
Or the movie Up.
What's the last, like, catastrophic thing that came from China? The unspecified virus of unknown origin of a southeastern country.
Let's go with that one.
So here's my question. If you got satellites, you don't need a balloon for spying, but you would need a balloon.
That's what I've heard, bioweapon.
Yeah. That
just drifted.
Just drifted across. But, however...
I was hoping it was going to be bats. Flame bats.
I know. All right, hang on. Give us the story on flame bats. Have we ever talked about that?
Yeah, we covered the flame bats. Yeah, essentially, they would drop bats asleep with incendiary bombs from these little parachutes.
The very humane United States Air Force.
And then the theory was, since most of Japan was made of wooden structure, the bats would then fly and roost in the buildings, and at which point the bombs that were set to delay like an hour, like a day later, would go whoosh, and then catch all the buildings on fire.
Didn't some of the planes blow up on the way to do this?
Oh yeah, then bats went up too soon. They burned down barracks. No, they destroyed way more American things than Japan.
Good old Mother Nature. Don't attach a bomb to me.
Could you imagine being in that meeting? All right, hear me out. We're going to take some bats.
I don't want to be in that meeting. I don't want to be in the pitch meeting. I want to be in the... So, Johnson, what happened with those bats? Oh, listen, sir. Yeah, we had like a fleet of bombers. You know, everything was going according to plan. Going over Japan.
I feel like he was late for it. He knew he had to like pitch an idea the next day. He didn't know what to come up with, and he got drunk with his buddies at the bar. They're hammered. Like, it's genius. Yeah, I'm gonna write this down. This is great. And he's hung over the meeting. He's like reading it off, and he's like, we're gonna take. And then he's got to double down, like bats, and we're gonna attach bombs to them
and release them, and they'll catch fire because they normally go into house crevices. Yeah, wild. But. Did I ever get to my, like, grand super conspiracy about the virus? And this is just, I have no evidence for this whatsoever. This is just me shooting in the dark. This is all hypothetical. But, so I heard, like, a lot of people say, you know, oh, they want you to, like, take the vaccine so that you can be a slave to them or it can kill you off or something like that. And my, like, reasoning to opposing that was, like, if I was the bad, quote-unquote, bad guy in charge of all this and trying to orchestrate all this happening, if I was fill in the blank, Bill Gates or George Soros, or take your pick, I wouldn't want to, like, and all the people that support my causes are lined up to get this vaccine, I wouldn't want to kill them off. Those are the last, and leave all the rednecks that have guns.
They're the last of us.
No, we've already gone down there. We're not touching that again. It got all sticky. If I was going to do it, I would make a not so bad virus and have everyone freak out. A lot of people grow skeptical of it. And then like let that almost be like a false flag for a real virus incoming. So there's a lot more hesitancy to getting that way, the depopulation. You let your enemies from their resistance from your products, well, you let that be their downfall in the end. You like get them. Because I've really been racking my mind since the last episode. Like,
yeah, just killing mustard gas.
Yeah, oh, dude. Did you ever hear about another side history thing?
Don't mix ammonia and Clorox.
Did you ever hear about the zombie Russians of World War I with the mustard gas?
No.
Oh, damn, I can't remember the name of the battle. It's some crazy Russian town. But the Germans they were having, I can't remember where exactly this was, but the Germans were fighting the Russians.
Germans fighting Russians.
Yeah, I know, surprise, surprise. One of the many times, World War I. And they have the Russians pinned down in this bunker. And the Germans are like, hey, we've been like using this mustard gas and it works so handily and we're all upwind of these Russians. Let's open some barrels of mustard gas and let it flow into their base. And they do that for like a day. And then they go, all right, seal it up. Let's put on our gas masks. Let's go in there and pick off the remaining ones. And as they storm in, mustard gas like eats your tissue away, like whatever it touches. There's still like 100 half dead. I don't actually know the numbers off the top of my head. There's still many Russians still alive who have rags wrapped around their face that are bleeding, like their eyes are gone. But they terrify the invading Germans so much, the Germans retreat and step over their own people while the Russians are killing them. The Russians whose skin is falling off and look like zombies.
They're just a different breed over there.
The Germans try this again 2 more times and never take the bunker. And none of the Russians had gas masks. They all just used cloth and covered themselves up. Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, crazy history rant. But anyways, balloon.
I feel like that's scarier than a Nazi zombie.
Russians up, yeah, yeah, dude. All right, what nationality would you hate to fight the most of the average of that nationality? I'm going Russia.
Yeah, I feel like it's again Russia.
I don't want to bare knuckle fight a Russian.
Yeah, they're like spit their teeth out and laugh.
Yeah. Have you seen the video of the dudes doing the workout with the bear helping them? Yeah.
They're Florida man, but on steroids.
No, yeah,
that's what I meant. They're like,
the internet talks a lot of shit about Australia being dangerous and Florida being dangerous. I don't think it pays enough attention to Russia.
And it's only because there's other Russians.
Yeah. I mean, that's who's killed more Russians than anybody else is Russians.
Russians have killed almost more people than everybody.
I'd like to see some nerd out there get a graph chart.
What nationality has the highest body count?
Dude, I bet it is Russians. And I bet it's mostly them killing other Russians, because even before communism, they just genocide the shit out of each other. But anyways, that was all came from a balloon talk.
Whoa.
Yeah. Anyways, what the hell else happened this week? Oh, okay. This was something I wanted. I feel like, it was like 2 seasons ago. We said there was a Elon Musk jar that we were going to take out and start putting money in because we keep bringing them up too much. We're going to have to do the same thing with Jordan Peterson. Because I know I bring him up a lot, but the dude is getting more and more bonkers. Bonkers ain't the right word. Batshit crazy, it would seem. And I can't stress enough, I've said this a couple of episodes, I feel like almost no matter what the guy says or tweets or whatever, it will never outdo the good I really think he's done on like a lot of young people's lives with helping them develop and not feel so alone and stuff. But I'll preface this with, I saw it like a couple of weeks ago. He was advocating that we do regime change in Iran. And let me just pick this apart for a second, a little bit. This is something. No. How far back have you heard that Iran's about to get a nuke and bomb all of the Western world?
Since I could remember.
Our whole life,
yeah.
Right? Like pretty much ever since the Ayatollah took over.
First time I heard that, I ran.
Yeah, and for the border. He was hungry for Taco Bell. But no, like, and I know there's a lot of like incremental evidence. I'm not going to say incremental. Conservative friends of mine show me quite a bit of evidence of like how bad things are in Iran and why this is evidence that we need to send in the troops to liberate the good people and yada yada. The same shit we've said like 8 Middle Eastern countries so far. And, it's almost like something you really got to think about, whether it's Iran or it's Ukraine or if it's Afghanistan or Kosovo. When these like politicians and warmongers like talk about, oh, we need to go help these people in this country for humanitarian reasons, like we're trying to help these people, that we care about them so much and we need to spend our money doing it.
Why does it always get so much worse for them?
Not only that, we support Saudi Arabia. Like, those same people that say all this, like, oh, we gotta, like, don't get me wrong, Iran probably, I don't want to live in Iran. I don't want my money going to do shit there either.
I don't mean this in a negative way. I would love to travel most of the world. I have no desire to go to the Middle East. Just because it's hot.
It is.
And sandy.
It does. I think it's like a dry heat.
Yeah, maybe. But I was like, I don't even really have a big desire to go to Egypt. Like, it's...
My granddad went to Israel, and don't get me wrong, he was like super evangelical, but so he was like blown away from it from a Christian point of view. But he said parts of it was beautiful. The other parts, I saw a man shit on the sidewalk in front of me, and I'm like, oh, that's...
So I saw the same thing happen in Hollywood.
So it's like, pick your poison. But the shit were we just talking about?
Sidewalks.
No, that
Iran, regime change.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
Peterson.
So Jordan Peterson, thank you for picking me all the way up to speed. This is like, I truly believe what the CIA wants us to do is get involved in other countries, because I think, not just CIA, but so many things wrapped up in the top. Want us to get involved in other countries because that takes Americans' eyes off of our rulers and onto other people's rulers, whether it's Xi Jinping. Did I say that right?
I wouldn't know if you did or not.
I think the leader of China.
Yeah, I only ever read it. I don't ever hear it.
Well, I think that's a first. Whether it's him, whether it's the...
That's probably not how they pronounce it.
Shah of Iran. Like even growing up, the last guy that ran Iran. You remember the dude? I don't even... his name's Allah something.
Oh, that's racist.
Very much so. Turkey Gobble. But no... you remember him? He had the beard, but not like a big beard. I knew not.
You're just describing the most generic.
It looks like
terrorist.
A Western beard. And he had the black hair. Damn, it's all not that guy.
I picture he had glasses. I think he had really thin white.
I remember even good old.
He wore a black turban.
No, this dude didn't wear no turbans or nothing.
I thought he wore a black one.
The president of Iran. This guy was like the president. I remember seeing him at the United Nations. And it was always said like he was a 12er, which was a radical Iranian that believed in bringing the Armageddon before he died. Dude, I heard that 20 times before. And then like he got out of office and a new guy took over. And it's like, oh, they're not nuking anybody. But I digress. If there's something tugging at your heartstrings, the first question you need to ask is, would this benefit the CIA and the Central Elites if I like wanted to give my money to this? And like flipping a country, yeah, like every single time it's helping them. But Jordan Peterson, who preaches you should clean your own room before you go out and try to fight the world, who lives in Canada, is talking about how we need regime change in Iran. So think about this. Canada. How have they been like the past 5 years on...
I don't know, it's America's hat.
It is America's hat. It's been a shitty hat.
It's time for a new hat.
Except for like the truckers and the people that like... Not just the... the truckers were like badass because it was neat seeing even radical like ass commies in that trucker convoy. And I'm like, y'all are the good ones.
I'm an American, so I don't have a vote or say so in Canada.
I don't pay attention to anything outside of
Canada,
the borders.
But anything I've seen of Trudeau, I do not like him.
Dude, it's awful, and it's
and I feel like a lot of Canadians don't either. But again, I don't.
I think the ones outside of the cities. But
Yeah.
I think I think when you live in cities, it's almost like you're putting on blinders. You have to adapt to. I say this as a guy that's rarely ever lived in a city. Maybe I don't know what the shit I'm talking about with this, but you have to like bend your reality to how a city works. And that is a certain reality, but you get out of that and just go out in nature, and it's like it's different.
Yeah.
It's what I asked a question on Twitter the other day, and it was like a great example of this. I was like, a man is born into the world like poor, like that's the natural state of man. How can anyone like really argue against this? And one of the responses was, well, some people are born with rich fathers. I'm like, you don't get what I'm saying. Like humans naturally are very poor. Like we don't have shit. Like, and you're like, but no, some people were born rich. It's like, yes,
we don't have a lot of it. Like just in the wild. Like
No.
sort of like we.
Like if you take 20 of us and put us on an island, we are screwed
Yeah.
as far as compared to how our life
we
is right now.
We can't just go drink water out of a stream like another animal can. We have no claws.
Yep.
We're like tender skinned. We get cold.
There's too much of that.
All
stuff.
we've got is opposable thumbs and a brain.
Which is a nice benefit, but so much of that makes me feel like I need to argue against evolution. Just all the stuff. I'm like, how the hell did we...
Because we snuffed out anything else that tried.
It's not that I'm like super pro even creationist or anything, but you know what smelled like bullshit to me with the whole evolutionary theory?
Donkey shit.
No, well, technically it'd be cow or bullshit would smell similar. I don't think donkey shit smells. Doesn't that smell like horse shit?
Yeah, but again, I don't know. I was just like naming some shit. They're eating the same grass.
Shit is different. That's
Yeah.
important. I digress. But shit, I do digress. What the fuck were we talking about before?
I said this podcast is good shit.
Yes, it is. I can't pause it.
No, you're talking about regime. Let's see. We were talking about regime change. Then we were talking about. Talking about evolution. and stuff.
Okay, yeah. It smells.
Hang with us.
Damn you!
I'll reel it back. I got lost too in the shit pile.
We had a lot of shit. That's the name of this episode now.
It's a shitty name.
So, what smelled funky about that growing up as a kid? It seemed like in school when we were taught the evolutionary theory. And don't get me wrong, I'm like down with it being a valid theory. I don't like have any like animosity towards the theory per se. It's how it was unacceptable to believe anything else. It was like that to me at even a very young age. I'm like, you're telling me I have to pick between either believing a Bible or evolutionary theory as it's taught in this 8th grade biology textbook, and these are my only two options.
I've always thought it's been a combo.
And I've
to an extent. Like the giraffe getting a longer neck, I can see that. But you can't tell me that like there's some stuff that just goes. I was like, okay, that makes no sense.
And that's my thing. Like, I'm down with. I'm even if I die and I go to heaven and God, if there be one, says like, hey, you jackass, every bit of evolutionary theory is true and I exist too or whatever. I'm like, oh,
also say
no big deal.
Well, like I said, I'm not saying that God didn't like create things, like allow things like evolve through there, but I don't think everything came from a fish that walked on land. Things just to me diversified way too. And then there's like some things that some animals can do. I'm like, how?
Did I ever talk about the bombardier beetle?
Oh, the one that explodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I did. Yeah. I was
no, there's some stuff that just the things that do it. I'm like, that's just not something that evolved. Like it.
And not in the what they're so certain. It's not even that it evolved. I'm down with all this stuff might have evolved from something. It's how they like predetermined in our textbook. This came from this, which made this and this. We've already figured out all of how reality came together with very few minor exceptions we have to tweak. And from a very young age, I'm like,
yeah. If we manage not to completely destroy ourselves in the next 100 years, I feel like in the future they're like, what do these idiots believe?
Yeah, I mean, like even you know, this, I think I've said it before, like the smartest guy in the world at the 1600s, like, yes, by his account, like, smartest guy, and probably should listen to him on a lot of stuff. Probably not on, like, human rights. Probably not one of those. But, anyways, I thought that was some neat stuff. What the hell else happened from balloon talk to that? Oh, hey. Did you see everyone going satanic panic over the Grammys? Speaking of godly talk.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't really, like, witness any of it, but I've seen the backlash and it just stay in my news feed and stuff like that.
That's the main thing I'm upset about, is that it's taking up so much of my news feed.
I don't care.
Yeah, there's mostly, like, you know what? I mostly don't care about it, but there was something that kind of popped in my head. I can't remember if I read a chunk of it somewhere and I thought on it more. But I think a lot of this pretending to be satanic, it reminds me of stuff from like the 80s and 90s that I used to hear like church people freak out about when there'd be like a metal group coming to town that was like Lamb of God or something like that. No, that's more like 2000s.
Don't play your record backwards.
A lot of that stuff. Hell, my daddy couldn't dance because he's a Baptist. But I feel like a lot of even like satanic church and crap like that, which I think is very cringe and not based. I think that is a reaction to super orthodox Christianity. Like it's like a reflex to it. However, you know, and for the most part, my first thought on all that is, at best, it's mostly harmless people that are just trying to be edgelords that are being dumb about it. But you know, the more of this like I see, and then you can dip into, it's hard for me to draw a hard line from like stuff like Balenciaga and what's the Grove I've talked about, Bohemian Grove, to stuff like directly to this musical artist. Like I'm not that neck deep in the conspiracy theory rabbit hole, man. That's too many people knowing about too much of dark stuff to not let it out.
When they're all like, yeah, you dressed as Satan, and I was like, I just watched your brother, where art thou? So my mind, like when what he says, like, nope, Satan has a bifurcated tail and he's got a red pitchfork.
Yeah. George Clooney nailed it in that movie.
Yeah,
he knocked it out of the park, an old brother. No, but the more I've kind of thought about it, I'm like, what if there is no belief behind like acting cringy and satanic and stuff like that? Like, you know, you're just doing it for the lulz or just for the reactions. But what if even that like lighthearted nature, which I would think is innocent at first glance, but that'd be my first thought, like edgy but innocent. What if like pretending to do that stuff morphs into like artists are always like trying to push boundaries. And I'm not even saying like in a bad way. Like people are trying to make new art, different art. I'm not even talking about modern art. I'm just talking about new, different stuff people haven't thought about. What if being like that edgelordy shit, what if that pushes you in such a certain direction that you start like embracing it a little too much? Like,
well, I think we're already at a point where people worship pop stars and celebrities more than they need to.
You know, as a guy that doesn't really like frequent any religious sites or anything like that, but I find it all fascinating and love studying about it. I really think something's happened in the past 100 years where it's like throughout all of time, for most people in most dominating cultures, it's like God is the most important thing. Like, it is the most important thing. There is no, like, everything on this earth, the hell with it. Our interpretation of this figure is the most important thing. And whatever, and don't know, it's led to a bunch of, like, terrible stuff, too. But, like, for the first time in the past, like, 100 years, as a culture, it's not even like that's gotten rid of. They haven't gotten rid of religion. But it's like, it's not that important. It's not as important as...
It's not the central, it's not first, it's
not as important as having a good time. It's not important as you feeling happy. Like, stuff like people, like, you go to tell someone in the 1800s, hey, are you happy? They're going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Happy? I'm
barely alive.
I'm having diarrhea every day and I'm praying to God to
get some rabbit fur.
Like, so dude, what brings me... Rabbit fur. God, Oregon Trail. But like, what brings me around to that is like, I think they found, even like, I don't think you even have to be any kind of believer to say like there was some unification around religion that brought like a society together. And yes, they did like organize it in certain ways that were shitty. Like I think of the Catholic Inquisition is, religion, but. Also, I think it gave people something else to focus on before each other. Or besides themselves. And now you have this massive societal shift where, like, it is all about me and I. And it's like, ooh, that makes bad juju. That, and I wonder, we're going to get off onto, like, a little bit of a hippy-dippy thing. I talked about this the first episode. Way back when. If you haven't listened to it, don't. The audio's awful and we had no idea what we're doing, even more so than we do now.
I was going to say, we're still winging it.
Yep, and it's going all right. But something, the more I've thought about it, the more it makes sense to me. And I guess it's simulation theory, but I don't like that. I feel like that has too much of a computery tone to it.
And we can barely use this one.
Yeah, we like hardly. But I was having like this awesome back porch discussion with my mother. And we were talking about like, how can, especially now that I got kids, like if the Bible and Christianity is totally true, which I lean that way, how can like God like, and there, even take that out of it. If there is a God, how can he allow like such bad stuff to happen? And when I say bad stuff, I like images of Yemen pop in my mind of like some kids are just born there and just horrifying existence until they die. Like how cruel. Like, the only way that makes sense to me is if this plane of existence, like, really doesn't matter. Or, like, it does matter, but not as much as we make it out to be. And don't get me wrong, like, I care very much for, like, my daughter and my son, and my relatives, and my family and community, and I'll do anything I can by them. But I really think this is a lot more of a testing ground. Well, I think a lot of religions point towards it as a testing ground for like your kind of inner way to find it. I just realized all this started back at Jordan Peterson talking about Iran, and I never got to the tweet. So there is, on the chance of me sounding batshit insane, I'm going to make him sound even crazier for a second. So stand by 1 minute. I'm going to bring this back around. Jordan Peterson talking about Iran was not the crazy thing I was talking about. That was one little thing. The main thing I went away. Hang on. It was so good.
If you haven't done so, be sure to follow us on Twitter.
Thank you, sir. All right. Yeah, follow us on Twitter, Instagram. If you're listening on YouTube, hit the subscribe, hit a like, leave a comment.
All at Bandit Radio Hour.
Yep. And Rumble. Are we doing
We're on the Rumble. I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing with it, but some of the videos are going there, some are not, some are in limbo. Rumble's an odd platform. I haven't figured it out yet, but we're in the process.
We're getting there. Who was it? Ruben? Dave Rubin? No, he did locals. Who invented Rumble? I can't remember. It was
Brett Buffer.
No.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Was that guy's name?
Bruce Buffer.
Yeah, that's it. Bruce Buffer. He still does UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a gig. Yeah, you talk for 10 seconds and you're done.
He's like the EA Sports guy.
All right. Jordan Peterson.
It's in the game.
All right. Can't stress it enough. Did a lot of good for people. But, Merce, I want to hear your reaction to this. Quote. My experience online has suggested to me that those who habitually use, quote, dude and, quote, bro are derisive, narcissistic, Machiavellian, sadistic trolls, concluded after reviewing thousands of derogatory and inflammatory comments. They use, quote, bruh and diminutive nicknames and, quote, LMFAO and LOL and OMFG as well.
I feel like he's just describing like frat bros.
Not even that. I think
because that's what the people I feel that use that don't use bro and bruh sarcastically are just complete frat-tastic people, which then I think he is actually describing correctly.
But he's saying my experience online. So he's like all this in the context of being online. And I don't know about you. This might just be a generational kind of boomer thing.
He can't read the context
like
it's coming
bruh,
in.
Or
Yeah.
like I mean, in real life, I will say bruh, like in a ghetto sense, like to my closest friends and my brother, but in like my regular business.
I use it sarcastically.
Yeah.
Like over the top.
But in the same way I do brother, like a dramatic movie call. What the shit, Jordan? How can you?
I don't think that generation picks up on sarcasm in words. They think they take everything like 100% literally.
On the other hand, you know how like I've talked about how like good he is on certain things, but he totally misses the ball on others. Like that conservative table.
You know he only eats beef?
Oh yeah, dude, he's got weird diets. Dude, I'll give him this. He's got a hell of a history, dude.
Yeah.
Like he started out, I think we talked a little bit about it, saying I won't be forced to use certain pronouns, kiss my ass, if you arrest me, I'll go on hunger strike. Then he got addicted to barbiturates. Then he went to rehab. Then he has to eat a special diet or else he'll die.
Yeah.
Like, it's something like that. And so does his wife and so does his daughter.
Yeah.
So I'm wild. So like, I got a lot of respect for him, but there's something about this like conservative table that doesn't sit level to me. There's always just a leg that's off and throws.
Yeah, it's because he's Canadian.
Well, yeah, no shit. I mean, that's the obvious thing. But even like, what was it? You know Matt Walsh, the guy that made the terrific documentary, What is a Woman?
Oh.
Have you seen the commercials for it?
Yes.
Where he's just going around, not even trolling, just asking basic biological questions to human beings and watching them explode. He's so good on so many things. But then I see this like, this group think with conservatives. And guys, I know I talk about y'all a lot. The reason I do is because I hate on y'all so much, because I love you. I grew up around most of you. But it's like, I think he tweeted out the other day, what a man wants is to come home to a wife that loves him and a bunch of kids that are going to do everything they can to preserve his legacy and honor. And I know, but like, I don't even remember the last half of it. But that just start, every man wants. It's like, no. Like, you jackass.
It's got 2 letters.
It's got 2 legs.
Yeah.
But that like, there's, and depending on like the person, like there's such a, I don't know, there's such a gambit of human existence across every spectrum. Like, to just group everybody. I feel like so many people that do live that way, that do want that. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting exactly what he just said.
No, but I think you can't generalize it.
No, because there's like the freaks like me that are like, this smells like people are getting pitchforky. But I don't know. Some people, on one hand, there's like a part of me that's like, yeah, but they wouldn't like ever push it to a certain limit, or they're like making laws against that. But then I'll see like another tweet where it's like, we should make laws against this. I'm like, oh shit, y'all are scary if y'all have power. It could go either way. So yeah, all right, I'm off the Canadian. I know we dabbled a little bit of this, and with the Grammy talk and the society moving talk. But Merce, are demons real?
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't want to talk about this, and I actually.
I don't like the demons.
Yeah, he actually got a Bible out and put it by him.
Just
This is New King James. Hope that translation works. But By the way, speaking of those, one of the best like scenes I think ever in any piece of media I've seen when it comes to like a malevolent dark force like moving against somebody, they have to use religion against it. It's the awesome American flick known as The Mummy, starring Brendan Fraser. But you remember the little Habib guy, who's like always outrunning them and stuff. It's whenever they first resurrect the mummy, and the mummy corners this Habib guy in like a corner. He's like about to, eat part of him or whatever. And the Habib, I say Habib, I mean like Middle Eastern dude. I thought his name was Habib.
Are you just going to go on another generic stereotype?
Another generic racist rant, I suppose. But he like undoes the shirt, and he's got like all these gold chains, and he starts pulling them out, and the first one he pulls out is like the Muslim one with the moon, and he starts praying in Islam. Nothing happens. He pulls out a cross, starts praying in frickin' what is it, Latin? Nothing happens. He pulls out the Star of David and starts praying in Hebrew, and the mummy goes, "Oh, language of the slaves. You're Hebrew. All right, no, you'll be my little lackey. All right, I won't eat you." And I'm like, what a genius move. To just be like, I'm going to pray to every god there is and hope one of them battles this demonic asshole. Genius. Absolutely genius. But no, the reason I wanted to get into this, all right, little bit of simulation theory. We're poking back around. I really don't think this is the realest reality there is. I think, like I said, simulation is such a gay word, but it's something close to a simulation that tests us. I think these like angels and demons and stuff, which I tend to believe in without any whole lot of feels in that, and not a whole lot of evidence. I think there's stuff like poking through. All right, good juicy question. Have you ever had any experiences?
I don't think so.
No.
I've like known people that like swear up and down and like say they do, and I'm just like, what? But I personally can't remember or think of anything that, or if I did, it's so locked in the vault.
And there's a good part of me that's also like I remember growing up here, like not even, let's take even like really like religious stuff out of it, just demons and angels, but like even just really mysterious out there things. I grew up hearing old timers and people who I have never heard lie about anything else. And one of them like being a sweet old lady that covered for us underage drinking, that Merce remembers was a saint. Aunt Dot. I remember them talking about things. And one part of my mind does say, like, this could just be overactive human imagination. Seeing something you don't recognize and trying to make sense out of it, and your brain taking over, trying to connect the dots. Dude, she said this. All right, this is the story of Aunt Dot. Now, she was driving down Pine Level Road. This was back like in the 60s, and she lived out on 72. And as she was going down Pine Level Road, how she describes it, and my mom told me this while I was staying at the lakes, and it horrified me trying to picture this. As she came around the bridge, something came across the road that had the arms and legs, like it was like built like a humanoid. She wouldn't use that word, but that's what she was describing, like something with like a human figure to it.
Right.
But its legs and arms were covered in moss. Pure moss. She said, I recognized the moss, like Spanish moss. And its body was almost like something like a mannequin that like looked almost fake and plastic as it like ran across the road in front of her. It almost made her wreck, and then she hauled ass and got out of there. And in the words of her son on another date, every now and then when I looked at Mama's speedometer, I noticed it was clocking out over 100 whenever like we were cruising. So it's like she knew how to get on it. So, all right, you give me a story like that. I just know you've heard some old swamp tale.
I mean, I don't know, I've heard people like seeing crazy things. I don't really have a whole lot of, I've heard, some buddies at one time swore they saw an alien or something in the woods. I can't remember the details. I remember who was telling me, but they're like 3 or 4 of them we were out one night, and they were swearing like they saw something.
I've seen weird stuff. All right.
I really don't have something, but I don't play with this. I don't mess with it.
Merce don't even do scary movies.
I'm sure it could be right in front of me, and I would just be so like, la 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 la.
I think there's so much stuff we haven't and don't get me wrong, I know a lot of this, I'm going on a lot of faith, and like I admit that. But when I'm aware a lot of the stories that you hear are probably horseshit in one way or another. Like it's either them, somebody confusing something or outright lying. Just to, hey, I did hear one good theory, like to counter my native beliefs. You've heard of the Irish banshee, right? Have you ever heard of that?
Maybe.
So in Irish mythology, there was a wild spirit called a banshee that would scream really loud and run around. I heard an explanation for what that might be, and I'm like, man, I don't even want banshees to exist, but I want this explanation to be true. They're like, this was really big in Ireland, right? And the parents would say, like, it'd be at nighttime, it would come out around the house and start screaming, and the kids better shut up and go to sleep, and parents were screwing. And telling the kids, you better go to sleep when you start hearing screaming and yelling, because the banshee's coming to get you. And
I'm taking the Bible off the table.
I feel more comfortable. Oh, but that's fine. It's like, whenever a really good channel to check out any of this stuff, I feel like does a good job of saying, like, what are the chances of this being bullshit and what are the chances of this being true is bedtime stories. And they do it while telling a really, I think their first priority is telling an entertaining story, and then towards the end of it going, all right, how true is this actually?
I definitely believe there's real things out there. There's stuff we can't explain, but I'm also the type that's like, I don't go looking for it, it won't find me.
And see, it's not, the official narrative, like, I'll give it it's not that I won't give it a chance. I heard this, like, put beautifully the other day. I feel like the reason, even you and I, like, we weren't recording or anything, but I mean, we were pretty right about all of the big changes the past couple of years. We were pretty right about that, right? Got a pretty good track record between ourselves.
Yeah.
And it seems like if you just start from the position of, I think the official narrative is full of shit, and I just need some evidence to show me otherwise. Like, I'm completely open.
Yeah, there's a lot of, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of it. You're just going to have to trust the experts.
Yeah.
And it's whether that's in defense.
And there's been this legislation passed that you can never question or challenge the result ever again.
And that's getting, I feel like that power structure has actually been there for a solid.
They're treating us like children, because now they're like, balloon!
Yeah, they are. Like, dude, I feel like that there's so much stuff we've been bottlenecked and limited off of. That's why the speculation kind of runs rampant with me from what could be real to what couldn't. However, Illuminati's just a step too far. I don't think Jay-Z and Beyonce are doing little diamond gay things to show you. But that's something that's always confused me about that conspiracy theory. Why would you show off being in the conspiracy? Like, if you're really good at conspiracies, you're hiding it from everybody, right? That's the point of a conspiracy.
I think it's the conspiracy within the conspiracy.
Or to, like, George W. Bush, like we've said before on South Park, like, whoops, you're walking behind me, think this, please.
Yeah.
But, alright, guys, I was kind of all over the place tonight. I'm going to admit that. Sorry, not sorry. Part of the show. But we're going to end it with a new little segment we're doing. Bandit's Hypotheticals, until we get a better word for it. Merce, if you could be, or, I've heard this question put a lot of ways. Like, what would be the worst war to ever be in? And, like, I hear a lot of World War I, Civil War, Vietnam's a good contender, I think. Anything against Genghis Khan. But no. If you had to pick the best war and best army to be in during that war, and you're a grunt, like, on the front lines, what's your best case scenario? Like, you have to go to a war. What war are you picking?
I'm a Spanish conquistador invading South America, the Aztecs.
Now,
because they took the capital city, no casualties.
I saw him writing this. I asked the question before. I saw him writing this down. I'm like, Aztecs and Spaniards? Like, that seems shitty. He's like, no Spaniards die. I live.
Yeah. It's like, I have impenetrable armor, gunpowder, and anytime I sneeze, they die.
And God's on your side.
Of course. Of
that
course.
Too.
Yeah, they've got some sharp glass.
Yeah.
And they're going to invite me in and give me all their gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. I take Spanish Conquistador for the win, 500 points.
I was so, I wish I'd have thought about it a little bit harder, because I was just like, World War II soldier. Because at least it's something kind of quickish, it seems. It's either a bullet shooting you, or it's a bomb exploding you, or I hope I'm close to the blast. and not like just out of the blast zone of it where it's god awful living the rest of my life.
Or you're getting shot down at 30,000 feet and then just like the slow. Like,
I'm not in a
free
plane.
fall.
I'm not in a boat. That's my 2 rules.
That's so many boats and planes. How do you think they got you to the battle?
I don't blindfold me and put me in a crate. I don't care. I'm not.
This isn't Call of Duty. You don't just press the start button.
I want to start on the beach. I want them to do the part where they jump me over the what? Like, dude, that. That's the one way.
You're either going in a boat or you're jumping out of the plane.
I'd rather jump out of the plane. If I had to pick, if I go into war between a boat or a plane, I'm picking a plane because at least you hit the ground. At least it's over the.
Nobody's gotten stuck up there.
That's a shitty drop, but at least, dude, I'll never forget that Pearl Harbor movie, which for the most part isn't that good of a movie. I liked it when I was 14 and it came out, but remember the part with the dudes like stuck in the ship and they can't get to them and they're trying to cut through, and I was always like, you just gotta sit there and kind of drown?
Yeah, with your thoughts.
Yep.
You're
just stuck in a cabin where you don't have any air. Yeah. And you're slowly running out. Nope. None of that.
It's kind of dark.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. I was trying to make this a more funner segment than Florida Man. But
yeah, when you asked me like the battle, I was like, what could be the most one-sided war I could go to?
What's the best genocide I could pick? Yeah, where we don't get that bad of repercussions.
Or it could be a Saracen against the Child's Crusade. I feel like they went pretty flawless. I feel like I referenced Child's Crusade way too much, but it just applies to so many situations.
Ahmed, what are they sending after us? Are they children or are they midgets?
They really
does it matter?
They really answered the questions. How many 8-year-olds could you take in a fight? All of them. All that Europe has to send.
They did not even put them on horses, Ahmed. Oh, dude. Like, what? That's another one of those, like, you're around the Catholic diocese or whatever it is, like, hey, guys, I got an idea about these Muslims in the Holy Land. Hear me out. We got a lot of mouths to feed, am I right? There's not a lot of food. Just take the kids, march them south.
This was the guy that's the bat's ancestor.
Yes, yeah.
This is Johnson's great-great-great-grandfather.
Yeah. It's like a Forrest Gump lineage of people with terrible ideas. Wow, holy shit. Well, guys, we've been yapping for a minute. We hope y'all enjoyed it. Follow us on Twitter, like and subscribe, all that fun shit. I hope y'all like the new camera angle. I hope I look a little bit less like a psychopath. I hope y'all like Mercer's hands. He's still kind of Wilsoning it a little bit, not as much. Anyways, follow us on everything, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Like and subscribe. We'll catch y'all next week. Y'all stay classy. Bandit out.